Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at something very exciting. This is Transformers' masterpiece Soundwave. This is a figure I've been waiting to get for such a long time now. I nearly bought the Japanese one when that came out, but then I got wind that Hasbro were going to do their own version with all the cassettes included for much cheaper. So I've waited and waited. This came out in the States in about July, and I'm still waiting and just last week it appeared in Toys R Us in the UK, so I got myself one and I'm so glad I did. Soundwave comes in this amazing box. I was just expecting another window packaging type of thing that we got with the other Masterpiece figures, but no, they've gone almost Japanese with this one. The main box itself is this purple and it's all embossed with, you've got the glossy white Decepticon logo there. This bit is all embossed as well. Then we have this wraparound piece. Now this is a matte finish, but all the pictures are all glossy, so they stand out. There's more embossed writing on there. This box is very impressive. We can also see on the bottom there, MP-02. They've started renumbering things. MP-01 was Acid Storm and MP-02 is this one. The Japanese numbering starts with an MP as well, so I think in the future things are going to get a little bit confusing. So if we take a little look around the box, we can see that the Decepticon logo carries on around the side. We've got on the back, that's the other side of the wrap, and you can see we've got Laserbeak, Buzzsaw, Rumble, but it should be Frenzy, and Frenzy, but it should be Rumble, and there's Ravage down there. We've got Soundwave, we've got the Energon cubes, we've got the tape eject system. So overall the packaging for this is absolutely amazing. So apparently this is collector friendly. Now one thing that did annoy me a little bit, to get this wrap off you've got to cut the tape, and then it has these little tabs. Now the first time you open this you can't just slide this off. These little tabs under here, you can see them there, they're actually plugged into the box into these holes, so you've got to damage them slightly just to get them out of there, but once you've done it once you can tuck them in underneath rather than plugging them back in there, so you're not going to do any further damage to it. But that was a little bit annoying considering this is quite expensive. You can see there's more embossed stuff on there in purple, got the Decepticon logo. There's Soundwave's little bio, and you can see his tech specs on there. And there's the back without the cover on. You can see we've got more Japanese writing, Decepticon logos. The front just says Transformers Masterpiece. So this is what we get within the box. The only paperwork is this instruction sheet. Although it is in English, there's barely any writing on this. It's all just diagrams and arrows. Two-sided, with all the directions on there. And then we have this huge plastic tray with a lid on it that contains all your 5 cassettes. We've got your Energon cube, we've got the little screen thing that goes on the front of Soundwave, his little arm blaster thing, that's his battery cannon, we got a little Megatron there, we've got the pile drivers for Rumble and Frenzy, and of course we've got Soundwave in the middle. It does annoy me slightly that he comes in robot mode. Considering it's a closed box, he could have been in his cassette player mode, and then you would have the thrill of transforming it into a robot. But as it stands, he comes in robot mode, so you lose a little bit of that wow factor. So here we have the 5 cassettes in a lineup. We've got Buzzsaw, Laserbeak, that's Frenzy, that's Rumble, and then we've got Ravage at the back there. So this is why I waited. This is why I didn't go Japanese with this one, which I normally would do. The Japanese release just came with this one. To get the others, I think they came together, and they came together. We're looking at $60–70 each. Transfer that into pounds, it's probably going to be £60–70 each, because that's the way it works over here. So for the price of these 4 cassettes alone, you get everything else, including this guy and Soundwave, in a beautiful looking box. That's why I waited. So each of these cassettes comes with its own little plastic case, and these are pretty similar to what you get with the G1 reissues and the original Japanese released G1 figures, only they now have Transformers printed on there. and they all open and close pretty nicely. The Japanese ones did actually have Energon purple coloured versions of these, but I'm quite happy with clear ones. So, customary with these videos, you have to start with Laserbeak. So it comes in his little plastic case, so we'll just get rid of that. This is one of the most successful of the cassette modes. You can see there he's all nice and squared off, looking very similar to G1, but a little bit better in some respects. Transformation on this thing is absolute genius. So how do we do it then? First off, on this side there's a little tab there, so you push your finger into there, and that gives you just enough clearance to lift out this beak section. And now we can see his head straight away there. Then next we pull these sections around, and they're going to form what used to be a chrome add-on piece on the G1. And then we can flip these little fins up. They were a little bit tight when I first got this one, and didn't want to go up, but they work okay now. Then at the back we take these, fold them down and around, and they form his legs and feet. Then over here we've got these wing sections, and we flip these out and around, and that forms the wings, and then all we have to do is push them back, and there we have Laserbeak in his Condor mode. We can articulate the wings just slightly, and you can also move the legs down a little bit. I think he looks better if you stand him like that, especially when he's perched on Soundwave. So pretty successful. He's also got this tiny little piece on the top that's a bit difficult to get hold of. It doesn't come out very far, but that forms the little camera on the top of his head, as seen in the movie. So there you go, that is Laserbeak. So far so good. And identical, apart from in colour, to Laserbeak, we have Buzzsaw, who was the bird that originally came with Soundwave. So his transformation's the same. He's got a nice brightly painted beak on this one, so I do actually prefer that look. And then we bring these around again. Now this one, these little fins, only seem to go to there. Really don't want to force them any further, they just don't want to go straight up. But that looks okay to me, I'm happy with that. Then we can turn these legs around, and now we've got the feet. Wings come forward, and then out and around. And I actually quite prefer this guy. I think the yellow looks really good. I think it's the beak being yellow that makes it pop a little more. And again we've got the little camera on the top of his head. We can get him straight. So there you go, side by side, Buzzsaw and Laserbeak. So sticking with the Beast cassette, so this is Ravage. Now, Ravage should be the best of them all. Unfortunately, well, he isn't really. Front looks good, no complaints there. Looks alright from the sides. But this back bit, it's got big dents missing out of it. There's no attempt to cover this and make it flush or anything. And to transform him, what we do is bring these sections around. You'll see they form the sides of his head. And he's actually got his nose inside there, that you've got to bring that out and around. Easier said than done. Really struggling, there we go. So that brings his nose out, and when you put them together, his nose is now in the centre. So with him turned the right way around, you can now see there's his nose section there. He's got eyes that are painted red, but they're really difficult to see. And he does have a little mouth, but it doesn't open or anything, but there is at least a little gap in there to distinguish it a bit. So to do his legs, we've got to untab these sections from there, like that. Do that on both sides. And then we can bring these sections around. So we want those going to be the outsides of his legs, and the same on this side. Then these sections with the cassette you turn to the inside, and then you can bring his legs down. All plastic this one, there's no die cast on or anything. The original one did have die cast legs, but this one, it's all plastic. So there we are so far. Then we bring these sections back like that, join them together, and then you can fold these around, which actually incorporates his little rocket boosters into it rather than being add-on pieces. And then these legs, you can tilt these a bit and pose it however you want to do it. And somewhere in there he's got a tail section which we've got stuck. It would have been easier to flip that out first. There you go. So the tail's on one side. It's not centered, but it's only tiny. And then you can sort of bend him a little bit to make him look a bit more like he's a bit more of an animal than a straight piece of wood. So there you go, that's Ravage. He is a little bit disappointing. Just a little bit. I don't like these panels that stick out on his legs. I think that's part of my problem. But at least he's more three-dimensional than the original. His transformation is reasonably clever. Next up we have Rumble, and with this guy he's actually quite simple to transform. We've got to lift these little bits up like that, and then those are going to be his arms. That allows us to free this section up. We can bring these around. So what we do here, you've got to grip it there, otherwise that ball joint just pops straight out. And with it gripped you can extend the legs out. There you go, ball joint fell off. Goes back in thankfully. And then you can tilt these around, flip out the feet. He is super poseable, this guy. Really is. In the middle section you pull him apart a little bit, and then these arms just pop around. And in there somewhere he's got some hands which just come around. These are so much better than the original ones as far as transformation and articulation goes. So he's missing a head, and that's because it's round the back here. Now these can be a little bit problematic getting them to come out, but once they do, pop up and spin round, and there he is. There's Rumble. So while we're there, let's transform Frenzy as well. Obviously this guy's going to be exactly the same transformation. It actually looks a little bit nicer in tape mode, I think, this one. So we pull up the arms a little bit, bring down the legs, grip it and extend, and you turn them towards this side, pop out the feet, same on this side. When you've got his legs there, bring the arms round. Now the first time I transformed this guy, I could not get the head to come out on it at all. So let's see if it's loosened up any. Yep, it has, definitely. I had to jam some metal in there the first time to get that out. So there you go. That's Frenzy, and that is most definitely Rumble. So as you can see, the articulation on these guys is tremendous. The ball joints everywhere, the head turns, just amazingly articulated. Now you may have noticed, these guys don't have the built-in accessories, they actually come separately. And this is what we get for each. These are meant to be the pile drivers that were seen briefly in the cartoon. They're a bit gimmicky, to be honest. So each one comes as two separate things, and you've got this little clip piece to hold them together. You can also use this to clip it onto Soundwave as an arm cannon, but to be honest it looks pretty stupid. You can also plug the little hand attachment onto there and have this plugged into this side of the Walkman Mod. It just looked stupid, so there you go. So with each one of these open up and you get these little, these might look familiar, these are the little guns. Now they do continue the colour scheme with the pegs as well, so that's good to see. And I should point out each one of these is separately done for each arm. So that's those. We might as well do these as well while we're here. I'm going to come out. So again, we just lift them up. It's kind of nice that they've got somewhere to store these, but I don't know, I'd have preferred it if they managed to work it into the transformation somehow. So we're done with all these bits for now. Let's bring back the little robots. So just like the G1s, you can put them in the little cassette holes on the backs with the big peg. A little tricky to do, there we go. So you can have both of them on his back like that, which definitely adds to the look of him. And then for this one, we'll put him in his hands, so you move that little bit along and that gives you a smaller peg to pop into the hands. That goes like that, and that'll just pop in his hand. So if you want to have them handheld, you can do that as well. So what about the pile drivers then? Well, first you've got to get rid of these guns because they're just going to get in the way. And then what you do is you tuck the hands in like that, and then you bring these arms, you're supposed to do them that way on, and then what you would do is slot these into here. Not sure if I've got the right side, I think that's that one. They slot into there like that, and then you can extend these out, but you'll see they don't reach the floor and it doesn't want to click in very well. I've probably got there on the wrong side. Yeah, that works slightly better. They don't reach the floor though like that, so I think it's much better to put them that way on. And obviously we've got to swap the sides, plus doing it this way you don't see the ball joints on the front, which makes it better in my opinion. So they'll lock in okay, just do them at a slight angle. I do think these are a little bit oversized like, but it's good that we've got them, I suppose. We can get that to stay in. So there you go with his pile drivers. You do have to rebalance him obviously to get him to stand with those. And obviously the ones for Frenzy work in exactly the same way. Not sure if I like them or not. It's kind of another accessory for the set, isn't it? But I could have lived without them. So here we have Soundwave with all his minions. Now Soundwave comes in the box in robot mode. So what I thought, it's only fair, we'll go to tape mode from the robot mode, and then we'll go back again and look at some of his other accessories and features. So one feature that's missing from this Soundwave that was always present on the G1 version is the way that his batteries work. This would come off and would go in a little battery compartment, and you could take his other gun, this thing, and this would actually be spring-loaded missile, but on this version it just clips together like that. And these would start in his back. Now they kind of do on this one, but not in there like they used to be. The reason being, this has got a mechanism for putting more than one cassette in. So this one, it's got a little tab there and it just fits in the back. And it loves to fall out, unfortunately. So you've got to really wedge that in there. But this one's quite cool, it's fully articulated, and that one just slots in on his back like that. So gone is the battery compartment, but we do have them stuck on his back now. So next we're going to get rid of his hands because they're a bit annoying anyway. We open that little compartment and then fold them inside like that. And once you've done that, there's no danger of the thumb falling off while you're trying to transform him. So that goes away nice and tidily. On the back of each arm we have this little flap here. There's a little tab, if you can just get your finger under. That lifts up like that, and we've got the same on the other side. And what's going to happen, they're going to fold round and cover the tops of the batteries. So from this side we unpeg it there, and there's a little panel that opens, and that just goes over the top like that to cover up the battery compartment piece. Next we're going to get rid of his head. So what we do is we come around the back, open that section there, and then we can fold the head down. I do miss the whole turning the head round thing, but it doesn't go in properly the other way. You've got to do it that way. That closes up and his head is nice and cleanly gone now. Now this centre section, you'll notice there's three distinct parts there. You've got to hold it by the back of his legs and push the two side ones, and they click back. You can see how that's come out now. So to do these legs, we take this section and fold it up like that. Then we take each foot, bring it out and around, turn it that way, and that's got a little hole there and a tab there. And we're going to need to lock that into position. A little bit tricky at first. Then we do the same on this side, lift that up, bring this out and around, and lock it in underneath there, like so. Now you'd think you'd move these bits forward, but you don't. You come sideways with these, you leave them exactly where they are, and you bring up those so he's doing the splits. Then we rotate the legs there and fold them up. Now there's a button you have to press there, and when you push that, it allows this section, a bit like the Masterpiece Prime, it allows that to lock into there, and then you can bring that round, and it's quite tough, but that clips into there. You know you've done it when they've lined up. And then the same on this side, rotate once, start bringing it up, push the button in, bring that down, and this one's a bit tougher, but there we go, that's locked in now. Then you come round the back, and this can be a bit tricky. You've got to bring these around, and then these sections turn, and they're going to tuck into there. Now that went in quite well. It's a bit harder to get them out afterwards, but this is loosened up a little bit now. So we bring them around and tuck them in. There's a little tab on there as well, so you've got to line it up properly so it's all nice and straight. And then finally, we take this bit, bring that forward, then we spread these bits out and lift those up, push them together, and then we've got the play section there, and we lock that into place, and that's it, we're done. Okay, Walkman Mod. Now, first thing, this is pretty big for a Walkman. That you could maybe get away with, but that's like two Walkmans stuck together, and the back is a little bit gappy. We do have this piece that you can plug in. There's a little hole there, and you can plug that in, and that's meant to go some ways to getting rid of that gap, but it doesn't really work. You can also use this piece in here. This is the piece you would plug the power drivers into there, and you can stick that bit in there, and it's meant to be some kind of power source thing. Not really great. We've got the old volume switch. It doesn't really move very much, but it does move. And on this side we've got the on-off switch, which is really tight for some reason, so that moves up and down. On the front, the buttons, they do push in, but they don't do anything. So they're not quite as good as a G1 Blaster, but they're definitely improved over the G1 Soundwave. And the main feature on this, oh look, there's a headphone jack as well. I wonder if that actually fits the headphones. Then you've got the record battery light, but the main feature, as I was saying, is this cassette deck, and you can push that button and eject your tapes. Now, Laserbeak is the best fit for this, Laserbeak and Buzzsaw anyway. And you want that bit to the top, you slot them in, you push them in, and you do find it tends to, unless you've got it leaning forward a little bit, doesn't really work 100%. But there's more. There's a little panel at the back there. You can go back one, you can go back two, so you can fit a total of 3 of your cassettes in here. Unfortunately it doesn't hold everybody, but that would make it huge. But there's no compromise in the back of the robot, which is good. So we'll put 3 in. Now, you'll notice I've put Ravage, Buzzsaw, and we'll put Laserbeak in the front there. And we should be able to do that. So there's one out, and you'll notice that's back. So we turn it round, and there's a little button here. Now you don't push this button in, you push this button down, and that fired the thing at the front there. And then you'll see it's got stuck again. There we go. So I'll do that where you can see the front. It launches it towards the front, and then you can do that. So you do have to have it tilted to get them out, unfortunately. Now, Rumble and Frenzy, I put them in here, and they just get stuck. They're a little bit too wide. I think it's the way the feet go, and they just get stuck on the edges. And then you have that moment of panic where you can't get the door open, you can't get the figure out, and you just ruined your transformer. So that wasn't good. So I would advise just don't put them anywhere near. But these 3 guys, they go in fine, not a problem at all. Okay, just out of curiosity, because I'd never noticed that headphone jack before, let's try it. There's the headphones. And it does actually fit. It doesn't hold very well, but there you go, it fits. So let's move swiftly back into robot mode, and I'll show you what's left of this set. So the first thing we do, we bring that down. Then we bring this out, bring these together, and then you fold that down, push those sections around under there like that. And then on this side we've got to unpeg these. It's quite difficult, this bit. There we go. Once you've got that free, you can bring that out and around. Shut that door there. Same on the other side. Because I'm resting on the button, that's probably why. Untap this bit. Bring that over. And then we've got that bit flat. So next we've got to free up the legs, and that means pulling this bit out. It's a little bit hard to find anywhere to get a purchase on it, but it does go if you persevere. There we go. And that side came out dead easy. So there we've got them, you can extend them back. Bring these legs down, might as well finish them while we're there. So they're the front, and then you pull the feet back out, down and around. Yeah, where are we? That's the way. Bring that out, down, around under there. And then you just got to put these bits back flat against the sides. Something I did notice with this that I've not noticed on the US version. We've got the CE printed on the side of there. It's pretty ugly. I think a bit of paint thinner and we'll have that off. So there's the legs, nice and easy. And then for the top half, you'll remember we pushed that bit back, so we now need to push it forward. And that straightens that flat, and it gives you a bit of a gap there. And then if you remember, we just brought them round. They fold back in. As we'll do the hands, they come round pretty easily. Yeah, when you first get this it's quite tight and worrying, but after a while it gets pretty easy. It's not a difficult transformation. It's not frustrating really. It's just nice and enjoyable. And finally the head comes down, back over the top, shut that, and there you go, all transformed. So if you want to give him his gun and that bit, that just comes up and around. You see he's turning at the waist there, and you can then extend this piece out. This is quite clever because you cannot grip that bit, but if you pull that out, and then when you start to bring the handle down, if you can get hold of it, you'll notice this bit pushes out, which then allows you enough to grip hold of it. Now this is going to fit in his hand. Now the hands, I should point out, these are very similar to Masterpiece Prime's hands. You've got 3 fingers attached together, and then you've got this little annoying finger. It's meant to be a trigger finger, but it just falls off really. So within the hand there's a little hole in there, and you've got a little tab on there because this handle is smaller than his hand. So you've got to tab that in, and then you can bring these around. This will just fall off. It's nothing to worry about as long as you don't lose it. It just pops back on. And when you've got a nice grip on it, there you go. So the hands, they've got a little bit of movement in there. You can tilt them a little bit and move them around. So while we're on the subject, let's look at his articulation then. From the top, he's got this little white bit under there, which, I don't know, bothers some people. It doesn't really bother me too much. You can turn his head around, look up, look down, whatever you want to do with that. This bit rotates. You can bring it around. So if you've got him looking this way, you can have that sort of following. Or if you want him looking that way. The only thing we're looking this way is this button is so big, it just sort of spoils the look. So I tend to keep him that way. Looks a little bit better to me. Then his arms, both of these are the same. You've got a joint there which turns and moves up and down. Then you've got a turn there, and you can actually lift that up and down as well independently. Then you've got a double joint there, so you can bring this arm completely flat. And then that's about it other than the hand. But what that does mean, which everybody loves to point out, you can get hold of his finger without pulling it off. You can then press his button. However you want to do that, you can bring his arm up and do it, or do it from that angle. Kind of cool, but waist articulation, you've got a good spin there, so you can have him turning however you want him to do. Now these legs are on a ball. They move up quite well and they do hold the position. These ones click backwards and forwards. They only go back so far, but they go forward quite far. And with this piece, it's optional really. You can have it that way, that's what it's supposed to be. Or you can spin that round and have it a different look, but you lose a bit of the articulation. But you've got this double kicking thing. Well, actually you're going to be able to use that ball the other way now. It won't come out as far, you've got to come out with there. Whereas if you were that way on, you can come out from the top. If that makes any sense at all. His knee's going to bend there, and it does turn there as well. This bit's all a big solid block. These feet are quite interesting, I'll just move that to show you. You can tilt that way, and you can tilt in this way because it extends out a little bit. You can move it that way, so you can have them like that. But the only thing you can't do is bring these feet forward. So if you had it at an angle like that, you can't bring this foot level. But that's not bad for foot articulation really, that's pretty good. And then you just want to pose him however you want. Also something interesting with these feet, which you might not notice, there's actually little compartments in there. You can open these up and you can store Rumble and Frenzy's guns in there apparently. It looks a bit tricky and annoying, so not really going to bother, but it's quite cool that that's there, I suppose. So there you go, that's the main robot and his articulation. So something that has bothered a lot of fans is the colour of the eyes. The yellow on this one and the red on the Takara version. Personally, I don't care, it's such a cool toy. The colour of his eyes isn't going to make the blindest bit of difference to me. So there are a few other interesting features with this figure, and there's one I'll show you. It's got this little ridge on his arm there, and it's similar to these ridges there. And what this is for is you can actually use the little grooves there and attach one of the birds onto it. Now it doesn't hold brilliantly well, but it does hold enough to have it at an angle and it won't just fall off. The shoulder one's not quite as successful. You have to have it flat to get him to stay on top, because he's sort of wider than the gap that he's got there. But he will stay on, but the second you move that arm he's just going to fall off like that. So there is another little feature you can do with the arms. Now what we've got to do is fold this all up and try not to lose the finger. Once you've done that, we took this away like we did for the transformation, and that reveals these two little clips. Then you can take this piece, which was the bit that went round the back of him. Not sure which way up it's meant to go. Could go either way really, but that just fits on there, and that's meant to be his little sonic cannon thing or whatever it is. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And we do have another weapon for him. We get this in the set. This is a in-scale version of Megatron, probably the closest to a in-scale masterpiece Megatron we're going to get. You can unplug that bit, you can take that off, you can remove the stock as well. It's a little bit trickier. You can have him just as the little handgun. Does look a bit daft like that, but it looks much better with all the pieces on, just like we saw it in the show. So you can arm that up. It's even got a little Decepticon logo printed on there, which is quite cool. Now my only criticism with this handle stretches. It makes a thin handle or a thick handle. That's quite clever. You do need to stretch it a bit just to get it to go around his arm properly. Now once you get it in there, the thing with it is he's got a trigger finger and it's really tricky to get that. That's about as close as you can get to him actually holding with the finger in the spot for the trigger to go. It almost goes, not quite, but it doesn't really grip very firmly. But as an accessory, I mean, that looks absolutely cool. No complaints with that really. This originally came with the original MP-01 Optimus Prime as well, and you can actually attach this underneath the Masterpiece jets as well with that little clip that comes with them, although it does look pretty stupid. It's something they did in the cartoon, so they thought they'd add it in. And we're still not done with accessories for this guy. Now what we've got here, we've got this little panel with a grid on it. Now originally the Japanese version of this had little paper things that you could cut out of the instructions. You'd put them on there and you'd stick that over the top and it would look like a computer readout on the front there. This one doesn't come with those little paper things, but I'm sure you could get a copy of them pretty easily. Just print them out yourself. But what this does do, it allows us to use this Energon cube, although it would have been nice to see one in purple. It has a lid, you could put things in it if you want, but I don't know what you'd put in. But without that lid, you can actually attach it to his front. So it makes him look like he's producing Energon cubes. That's quite a nifty little feature. So there you go guys, what an amazing Transformer this is. Absolutely thrilled to bits with this. I'm so glad I waited to get all the little minion bots as well. This is currently in Toys R Us for £119.99 with free delivery if you want to go online. It just appeared last week and I would advise snapping it up as soon as you possibly can, because if this sells out I'm sure the price is only going to go up. But this for 120 quid for 6 robots, that's 20 quid a figure. Not even the knockoffs are that cheap. So there you go guys, this has been Luke and this is one of my favourite toys of the year. Thanks for watching.